So we're lying on our backs, legs straight, arms alongside the body, shuffle the shoulder blades, flush towards one another. So we're basically starting in a Shavasana here in our corpse pose, with the palms facing the sky and the feet totally flapped out. We're going to close our eyes and take a few moments to arrive on our mat, a few extra moments to breathe, become present, stop longing for the bed, longing for the duvet, the squishy, comfy pillow. Just feel your body melting into the floor, softening the shoulders, letting go of the frown that you may have been carrying around with you all week. We're going to take our right hand placing it on your sternum, your breastbone, and our left hand is going to place on our tummy. So hands are at your center. And I want you to feel each breath lifting the hands as you inhale, and the extra assistance from the hands as you exhale, and the hands gently press down on the lungs, on the tummy, squeezing all of the air out. Big breath in and exhale. We have a soft focus here, so try not to start to frown and scowl. It's just breathing. We should be doing this every day. Take an inhale and exhale, softening deeper into your mat. One more with the hands here. Inhale and exhale. You're going to take your hands and place them onto your rib cage. One hand either side of the ribs. Each breath in, I want you to feel the rib cage expanding. And each exhale, the rib cage squeezes all of the air out of your lungs. Inhale, the rib cage expands. And exhale, squeeze it out. One more, inhale. And exhale. We're going to reach the arms up overhead along the mat, lengthening the fingers away from the toes and start to stretch the toes away from the fingers. This is your morning stretch and it feels really good for the morning. Quite an appropriate name. And as you exhale, bring your knees in towards your chest, wrap the arms around the knees and tighten the arms around the legs. Lifting the chest up to the knees as well, so the head and shoulders lift, turning our bodies into a really tight ball. You can gently rock from side to side, feel a little massage either side of the spine, and for a little Saturday morning exhilaration, the further across you roll, and you'll feel like you're going to fall over, and then catching yourself and bringing yourself back to center. Really working right on over to the edge of the spine and ribcage, and release. With those knees tucked tight in towards your face, we're going to flutter the eyes open if they're not already. Reach the right arm up to the sky and interlace the fingers around the left knee. You're going to rock the right toes over the face and use the leg to roll you all the way up, crossing the ankles. Or making your way to seated in whatever way is most comfortable for you this morning. Hands resting gently on the knees. We're going to take an inhale, roll the shoulders back, lift the heart forwards. And as you exhale, tuck the tailbone, round it out, stretching the shoulder blades apart, hollow out the body. Inhale, roll the shoulders back, open the chest, gently drop the head back, do a little stretch over the front of the throat. And exhale, tuck the tailbone, round it out. Inhale, roll the shoulders back. And exhale, round out the spine. One more. Inhale, roll. And exhale, round it out. Coming to a tall posture, we're going to take the right hand, place it to the outside of the left knee, and the left hand is going to place to the ground behind you. Coming into our seated twist, rolling the left shoulder back and opening up the chest out to the left hand side of the mat. You can bend that right elbow slightly to really pull the right chest more forwards. You want your chest to face out behind you. Sometimes we tend to grip on the hand and just sort of create as much tension as possible. But I'd like you to have strength through the arms and soften the spine so your body flows deeper into its twist. Take a big breath in here. As you exhale, twist a little deeper, like you're squeezing all that air out. And then relax over to the other side. Left hand to the right knee, right hand to the ground behind you. Roll the right shoulder back and open up the chest to the right hand side. The closer you get that right hand to the glutes, pressing the spine up tall, you should find a little extra space to rotate. Taking a big breath in, as you exhale, twist that much deeper. Think about looking over your right shoulder without putting strain on your neck. And release all the way to the front. You're going to interlace the fingers behind the back, roll the shoulders back and down. It's time to get fluid with those shoulders, so really roll them back, squeeze the chest open, and then start to straighten out the elbows, lift the hands away from the hips. So with a lot of our stretches, it's quite important that we don't focus on one joint in isolation. So sometimes we keep the shoulders all tight and stuck, and then we find we can't straighten the elbows. So seeing where, even by lengthening the spine more upright, giving you room to squeeze the shoulder blades back, should help you to open up a little bit more into those elbows. And releasing the hands down. You're going to bring the soles of the feet together into a nice wide Baddha Konasana, interlacing the fingers around the feet, or you can grasp onto the ankles. Straightening out the spine as much as possible, and then pull the tummy down towards the feet. The elbows can connect into the inner calves or inner thighs. You want to push those knees down to the floor, and then open up your chest as well. So the shoulder blades squeeze back, and we think long collarbones. Try not to jerk your head forwards too much, but rather keep the head in line with the rest of the spine. Big breath here, nourishing that stretch through the hips. Releasing your forward fold, sending the feet slightly further forward into a little bit of a bigger diamond. Hands around the feet, tuck the elbows to the front of the shins, round the spine, and sink the crown of the head into the soles of the feet. So I want you to feel a big roundness through the back of the back, stretching down the outside of the spine. And release, coming up tall. We're going to bring the knees up, grasp the outside edges of the feet. So the knees are together. We're holding onto the sort of the knife edge of the foot with both hands. And then if you can slide smoothly out in front of you, go ahead. Otherwise, walking those heels away from you. You want to keep your tummy to your thighs. So finding that position where you can maintain contact. If the legs start to drop and you lose that connection, you've gone a little bit too far. So we're definitely going to be feeling that stretch through the hamstrings, sliding those feet out, softening the shoulders, just changing the way we come into our forward fold, and enjoying that connection of belly on the thighs, nice and cozy on this rainy morning. Still softening the shoulders, we don't want to hold too much tension. Try to find length in the neck, maybe even tuck your chin in. Maybe try tucking the chin in and notice how just that little movement with the head increases the intensity of the stretch quite a lot. So we're going to stay there for an extra moment. Maybe you feel like the muscles are relaxing and loosening and you can shuffle the feet a little further forward. But just quickly to demonstrate that when the chin tucks in and you feel it deep in the stretch in the back of the legs, that just shows it's a neural stretch. So it's showing you how the nerves, which come from your brain and your spinal column, run all the way down the length of the legs. Everything is connected. So Melissa, what's if your hip bone's connected to your neck bone? I don't know. I never learned that one properly, but you get the idea. Neck bone, whatever. See if you can soften a little deeper. Maybe the stretch itself is starting to move. It started in my hamstrings, now I'm feeling it in my hips. Unexpected, but it feels good. And rolling your way up. We're going to bring the feet in, or we can swing the feet around, whichever way, but we're going to make our way over into our tabletop for cat and cow. So swing the feet around, rolling on up and around. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Now tuck the tailbone around the spine up towards the seat. And I really want you to focus on that abdominal crunch to pull the hips forwards. Then you're looking at your belly button with your nose as you spread the shoulder blades apart, but remember to maintain space between the ears and shoulders. We don't want to be all scrunched up. As you exhale, allow the belly button to fall towards the floor, tailbone lifts to the sky, and then squeeze the shoulder blades together. Take a moment here to notice where your focus of your stretch is. So because the spine naturally curves down in the lower portion, we tend to exaggerate that part. But we need to start to focus on the upper portion as well. So see if we can dip a little deeper into the upper back as you open up your chest and lift your chin to face out in front of you. And in reverse, we tuck the tailbone, round the spine, upper back rounds really easily, but focusing on tucking the tailbone to round the lower back as much as possible. Everything connects deep into this fold, centering around that belly button. Exhale, dropping it down, lower back just chills into that dip, and then focusing the strength of your stretch into your upper back. The more you squeeze those shoulder blades together, the more you open and dip into that mid to upper spine. One more each way. Inhale, tuck the tailbone, expanding that breath through the spine, squeezing the hips forwards, and exhale, arching the spine down, lengthening out of the crown of the head as you look forwards, making sure those elbows remain straight. And then coming up to a neutral spine, tucking the toes together, open up the knees nice and wide, pull the hips back, hips to heels, stretch the arms forward, melting tummy between thighs. Feel a stretch through the shoulders. If you find you have a pinching in the shoulders, you can try to turn your palms to face the sky. That might allow a little more reach out of the shoulder blades. Otherwise, you can have the hands underneath the forehead, which just takes away some of the tension from the front shoulders. And then even here, as we did before with the cat-cow, particularly with our cow, I want you to melt the chest to the floor. So where it spends a lot of time rounded over a computer screen, I want you to melt the chest down, arching into the upper back. And then you're going to walk the hands over to the left-hand side of the mat. Take the right hand on top of the left, tummy to the left thigh, but keep the hips pulling back to the heels. And play around with that hip position as you find a deeper stretch through the outer right rib cage. Maybe even into the right lower back. Then walking your hands over to the right hand side, left hand on top of the right hand, hips rotate out to the left hand side, tummy to the right thigh, head is soft. Walking the hands back to center, and lift the bodies up, back into our tabletop. We're going to reach the right arm forward, the left leg is going to slide back and then squeeze the glute to lift the leg up off the floor. Adjusting the shoulders away from the ears so we have length through the neck, and pressing the left hand strong through the earth so we're not collapsing into the body. Tummy is nice and tight, hips are closed. Imagine there's a puppet string on your right thumb, putting the thumb up to the sky so your arm pulls behind your head even. Then we're going to place that right hand down, and we're going to place the left toes behind the right toes, but keeping the legs straight. So we can swivel over into a modified side plank. Left arm floats up to the sky. Hectic in the balance, so taking a moment here to go slow and find your balance. You want to stack those hips, winding this left hip over the right knee as the right arm lifts up to the sky. Once you've found your balance, start to float the left leg up off the floor. Or keep it connected to the ground, whatever feels safer for you. Left leg parallel, if possible. Holding it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Toes drop down, left hand to the floor. Bringing the left knee back into center. We'll switch over to the other side. Right leg slides out, tailbone tuck, squeeze the leg, and squeeze the bum to float the leg. Left arm lifts up alongside the ear in our bird dog. Thumb draws right up to the sky, making sure you're doing this on the second side. Strong through the right arm. Then place the left hand down to the ground, right toes behind the left toes, straight leg, and then swivel open, right arm reaches up to the sky. Finding your balance, it does help to squeeze the bum forward, and then lift that right leg parallel to the floor. That lift comes right out of that glute. Keeping those hips pressing forwards. Dropping the toes, right hand to the ground. Hands under shoulders, but keep the leg extended. Tuck the right toes under and then lift the left knee off the floor in a plank. Shoulders are over the wrists, the arms are feeling nice and warm. Legs are straight, bum tucks under, even give it a little squeeze. I look quite weird. Then lower the knees down to the ground. Tuck that tailbone under, squeeze the glutes. Your body should be in a nice triangular wedge shape, as opposed to the box, which you've already spent quite a lot of time in. So lower those hips down. You're going to twist the elbows to point towards the hips and lower the shoulders towards the fingers. Coming to lie on your tummy, untucking the toes. Rolling the shoulders back, keep the chin tucked in. Take an inhale, floating up for baby cobra. I want you to feel the drawstrings pulling up on the spine. Hands are soft. Feet are flat as well. Working into the upper to mid back, not the lower back. And the glutes are actually squeezing the lower body down on the floor. Warming up the spinal extensors. Release the chest down, tuck the toes under. Keep the elbows tucked in as you pull the hips back, straighten out the arms. Modified child's pose with a plantar stretch across the soles of the feet. Take a big inhale, and as you exhale, melt a little deeper into your child's pose. Stretching bigger across the soles, stretching those arms further away from you. We're going to lift the hips up to our first downward facing dog. Feet are hip distance apart. Straighten out the knees, roll the tailbone to the sky, pressing your tummy towards your thighs and tuck the chin in so the neck is straight. Then start to sink the heels down towards the floor and soften out of those shoulders. Lifting the heels up nice and high, we're going to tuck the tailbone to squeeze into those lower abdominals as you then roll and round your way forwards into a plank. Warming up the arms this morning. Then expect bonus, then lower the knees down into our wedge. Friday pizza slice, tuck the elbows in, chin and chest down to the floor, untuck the toes, roll the shoulders back to help you draw up. So the muscles responsible for putting the shoulders towards the spine are also the muscles responsible for lifting the chest away from the floor. Double check with those hands, can they still float, or are you using them to do all the work? And tuck the toes under, pull the hips back, stretching out the arms. Lifting the hips up, another downwards facing dog. Last little bit of work with the arms in this little sequence. And then walking the feet to the front of the mat. Feet together. Chin tucks in. We roll our way up one vertebra at a time. Scooping those abs in and squeezing the hips forward. Rounding and rolling your way all the way up, standing. Rolling the shoulders back. Take an inhale, reach the arms up to the sky. Interlace the fingers, turn the palms up. And press the palms towards the ceiling. So stretching across the palms of the hands, the inner side of the fingers, squeezing the hips forward, opening into the upper back. Then place the palms together, bring them down to heart center. Placing the weight into the left foot, we're going to lift right knee up. It's quite early for balance, but we can do this. Interlace the fingers, right knee floats up. Just give it a little tug in towards your chest. And then releasing the knee, releasing the foot back down, switching sides. Placing the weight into the right foot, left knee lifts up. Interlacing those fingers, give it a squeeze. Tight, tight, tight towards the chest. And release the foot down. Palms together, fingers along one another. Placing the weight over again into the left leg. Right knee lifts up. This time to tabletop. We're going to send the right foot out to the back of the mat, kicking the foot out behind you and coming into a warrior 3. Allowing the chest to drop low, or the tummy to drop low, but keeping the chest open. And then bending the left leg, dropping your right toes down to the ground into a high lunge. So basically just exaggerating the way we step back into our high lunge as a bonus warrior 3, but without me making you hold it for too long. So in some ways I'm being nice. Keeping the palms together, we're going to reach the arms up to the sky, putting the arms behind the ears. So you want that left knee over the left ankle, and we're on the ball of the right foot, so the heel is lifted. Then we're sinking into the hips, trying to get that front thigh parallel to the ground. The lower I sink, the more you can see my hands, so that's my incentive. Even though it burns, definitely burns. Folding forwards, one hand either side of the front foot. Drop the back knee down, unflip the toes. Take an inhale, coming into a crescent lunge. We're going to interlace the fingers, index fingers pointing up to the sky. Pull the arms behind the ears. Tuck the tailbone and squeezing the hips forward. Gazing up towards the ceiling. Long-term goals over here are somewhere about getting your hands to that foot on the ground behind you. So think up and over out to the back. Without putting strain in your lower back, you want to keep your tummy tight, so your belly button must feel like it's sucking in towards your spine. If there was a little fish hook on your belly button, you want to be reeling in through your back. Folding forwards, one hand either side of the front foot. Palms connect. Tuck the toes of the right leg, lift the knee up, stepping back to your downward facing dog. Heels sink down. Lifting the heels up nice and high, tuck the tailbone round and roll your way forwards into plank. Lower the knees down if necessary, or if you're feeling warm, full plank. And then chaturanga down to the floor. Untuck the toes, press up for cobra. Rolling shoulders back and keeping the pelvis connected to the ground. Then tuck the toes under, pull the hips back, find that plantar stretch. It really is one of my favorites. I love how through the class it starts off so tight, but by the end it's not so bad. Lift the hips up, downward facing dog. Right leg lifts to sky. Lifting up onto the left toes, bring your right knee into a right tricep, shifting forwards into a plank. Stunning, and then kick the right leg back up towards the ceiling. Right leg steps to the front of the mat. Shuffle the fingertips forwards of the toes, flicking the left leg up to the sky, and then step the foot to the front of the mat. So we're practicing that standing split without overly committing. Tucking the chin in, rolling your way all the way up to standing, squeezing the hips forwards, roll the shoulders back, open up the chest. Inhale, reach the arms up to the sky, palms together, and down to heart center. Place the balance into the right leg, left knee lifts up, into our tabletop. And then pivoting forwards around the supporting leg as you press the left leg out behind you, like you forgot to close a drawer, or maybe lifting the oven. finding that parallel back, and then bend your right leg, lower the left toes to the floor. Reach the arms up. Maybe you can start by stepping a small step back, and then shuffle a little deeper into your lunge. Back knee floats off the floor on the ball of that back foot, sinking into your right knee. Softening the breath, finding that steady breathing. Folding forwards, one hand either side of the front foot. Drop the knee down, untap the toes. Inhale into your crescent lunge. Interlace the fingers, index fingers pointing up to the sky. Tucking the tailbone, squeezing the bum forwards, and then sink the pelvis down. Reaching the arms up, opening up the spine. Imagine you pulling out of your hips. If you are struggling with balance, it may be, which it is in my case, that your foot is directly in front of your knee, which creates quite an unstable surface. So keeping your legs in line with their own respective hips on their own side of the mat. And then folding forwards, one hand either side of the front foot, tuck the toes, lift the knee, step back, downwards facing dog, heels sink down. Heels lift up nice and high, tuck the tailbone round and roll the body forwards into plank. Lower knees, chin and chest, or full chaturanga down. Untap the toes. Cobra, baby cobra, or sphinx. Work the variation that works best for you and your back. Or maybe your arms are tired, in which case sphinx is pretty good. Tuck the toes under, pull the hips back, stretch the arms out. Feel that spine flows way back to the back of the mat. Then lift the hips up to your downwards facing dog. Heels sink down, arms are pressing overhead. Left leg draws up to sky. Let's point through those left toes, lift high onto the right toes, shift forwards to plank, left knee to left tricep or wrist, but really trying to work it all the way up the arm. Then extend the leg back up, three-legged down dog. And then left foot steps between the hands, right foot steps up to meet it. We're back into our forward fold. Let's shuffle the feet, hip distance apart. You can soften the knees to take some of the strain off the back. Melting the tummy to thighs, chin to chest. Grasping opposite elbows and hanging out in your ragdoll. And you can really hang out, swaying those arms side to side. Feel that stretch. Then release the arms, tuck the tailbone, rolling your way all the way up to standing. Squeezing the hips forward, roll the shoulders back. Inhale, reach the arms up to sky. Interlace the fingers, palms up, arms behind the ears, squeeze the hips forward. Exhale, swan dive, folding forwards. Get the knees, palms to the ground. Right foot steps back. On the ball of the right foot, we take an inhale, reach the arms up, another high lunge. Sinking deep into that lunge. Then we're going to reach the arms out, bringing the body to a 45-degree angle so you have a nice straight line from the right heel through the hips out through the left hips. Awesome. See if you can lower the body a little bit more. You can placing the weight into the left foot, the right foot's going to step up into a chair pose. Thighs are working hard here. Bring the hands together and down to heart center and see if by bringing the hands here you can sink a little deeper. Pulling the knees behind the toes. Inhale, straighten up the legs and shake them out. Building that strength through your squats basically. Interlace the fingers, turn the palms up. Draw the arms behind the ears. And exhale, swan dive, fold forwards. Bend the knees, palms to the ground, left foot steps back. On the ball of that left foot, take an inhale, high lunge. Arms are alongside the ears. And then lower the body down to a 45 degrees. Keep the arms drawn back behind the ears. Feel that activation through the mid-back. Maybe the shoulders are feeling quite warm. Maybe everything's feeling quite warm. Hot and humid today. Keeping the weight into the right leg, left leg steps up into your chair pose. Oh, almost didn't make that one. Arms draw behind the ears, keeping your neck in line with your spine so you're not sticking your head forwards with your arms, but feel that activation in the mid-back. And bring hands together down to heart center. Squat a little deeper. And straighten up the legs and shake them out. And soften the shoulders. I need this fan actually facing me. Oh, so much better. Inhale, reach the arms up to the sky. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Bend the knees, palms down, right foot back. Right foot drops down, 45 degrees. Cartwheel up, warrior two. Right hand to the back, left hand to the front. Left knee over left ankle. Right hand drops down to right calf, left arm extends to the sky. Find softness in your poses. If you're feeling highly energized today, by all means, slide that right hand back down. We're working our way into a little bit of a rest flow here. So working in a comfortable variation of your warrior two. Reverse warrior, peaceful warrior. Floating your way back up, warrior two. Cartwheel the arms down, either side of the front foot. Roll onto the ball of the back foot. Step back, down dog. Hips to sky, soften out of those shoulders. We're quite warm now, so shouldn't feel like an absolute fight and battle to find your stretch. Should be able to soften fairly easily into a comfortable variation of your down dog. Heels lift up, round forward into a plank, shoulders over wrists. Lower the knees if necessary, otherwise full chaturanga. Press up for cobra. Tuck the toes. Hips to heels and back to down dog. Toes together, knees apart. Child's pose, sigh of relief. Hips to heels, arms stretch out, tummy between the thighs. Keep the hips pulling back to the heels. You're going to slide the hands towards you, rounding and rolling your way into kneeling. So we're up tall. Placing the hands on the ground behind you. For me, it's most comfortable to flip the hands around so the fingertips touch the floor. If the knees don't like this, you're welcome to spend the next couple of poses in your child's pose. Or just in a box position. But we're going to squeeze the hips to lift the bum away from the heels and get a gentle back bend. Keeping the belly button drawing into the spine, and the focus of the stretch is more from the glutes and quads. I don't necessarily want too much arching from the back bend. Dropping the hips down, especially if you have back issues, hands to the front and stretch it out into your child's pose. We're just going to do one more of those. Slide the hands back in, reach the arms around the back. Open up the chest, supporting the body with the hands. Squeeze the hips forward to your personal level. There shouldn't be any pain in this position. Maybe some nice stretch across the hip flexors, opening into the chest. Lower the hips down and slide the arms forward. Child's pose. Shifting the weight forwards into the hands, tuck the toes, lift the knees, hips to sky, down dog. Right leg towards the ceiling. Right foot to the front of the mat. Left foot drops down, 45, cartwheel warrior two with the right leg at the front. It's right tip of mine, plunk. Every time. It's not painful, so it should be fine. Left hand drops down to left calf or thigh, right arm to the sky, or further back, whichever one feels better for you. Don't think about a single class which hasn't included a warrior. So by now, warrior should be super comfortable. It should be a pose that you perform with ease. or you can perform with ease, maybe not every time, but eventually maybe one day we'll touch that hand down to that ankle. Maybe one day, not today. Stay relaxing. Floating your way back up, warrior two. Cartwheel down either side of the front foot, roll onto the ball of the back foot, feet step together at the front of the mat. Tuck the tailbone under, scooping the spine around as you come up to standing. Rolling shoulders back and down. Shuffle the feet to the outside edges of the mat, toes turned out. So the toes are off the mat, the heels are on the mat. This next one, you're going to find your personal distance. Roughly mat distance apart is usually pretty good. If you do struggle with ankle, knee, or hip mobility, sometimes going a little wider is better. So we're going to open up the knees and sink the bum down towards the ground. Maybe this is where you stay. Maybe you keep your hands on your knees to support your body. If you can sink all the way down, dipping your tailbone to the floor into a full yogic squat. You're going to bring the hands together at heart center, elbows pressing to the inner thighs, and then using that to straighten out the back. If you're in a half squat, it just means your thighs are going to work harder, and I am okay with that. But still try not to round the spine. Keep it flat as possible. Knees are open, heels are flat. Palms of the hands to the floor. Lift the tailbone to the sky, finding your slightly different forward fold with the legs slightly wider. Then shuffle the feet to hip distance apart. Bending the knees nice and deep so the tummies on the thighs, similar to how we started our class. We're going to wrap the arms around to the back of the heels, hands grasping the back of the heels or ankles, and elbows tucked to the back of the calf muscles. Keeping the tummy to your thighs, we're going to straighten out the legs as much as possible without losing that deep connection. Although we could do with relaxing that belly a little bit more. Straight away, as I try to straighten out my legs, my tummy's just like clench, make it go further, and then I let it go, and it clearly hasn't helped. So soften any tension that isn't actually contributing to a deeper stretch. Working only the muscles that intensify the stretch, that are appropriate. Even your shoulders may be a little bit tensed up around your ears, allow them to soften. Allow the crown of the head to fall towards the floor. Should be looking between those knees, those offending knees, which are causing the backs of the thighs to burn, maybe the fronts as well. And then relax, hands to the ground. We're going to cross the ankles and drop the hips down. So we're seated with crossed legs, and maybe actually straighten up those legs and wiggle them out because it burns. It does burn. Maybe use your hands to shake them out as well. Legs up. Oh, legs are straight. Can't straighten them more because they're still on fire. Toes are up towards the face. Arms extend. Pulling the chest forward like you're using a rope, reeling in a rope, and fold towards those thighs. Hands are either side of the legs. Even if they don't reach the feet, the hands can slide towards the heels. Again, softening the shoulders. Think leading from your belly button, then your chest, then your chin towards your feet. If your hands are on your feet, I want you to grasp outside edges of the feet to open up the pages of your book, so the feet are not looking in towards one another. Rolling your way back up, sliding the heels in, arms extend parallel to the ground and leaning the spine back to about a 45 degrees, but working to how low you can go. Then lift your shins up parallel to the ground into a boat pose. Straightening up the legs as much as possible. I want those quads working. Today is definitely a quad strengthening day. Then we're going to cross the ankles, place the feet down on the ground, placing the hands next to the hips. The knees are drawn up. See a little bit of work happening on the inner hips. and some work happening from keeping your spine up tall. We're going to have the hands next to the thighs, and we're going to push into the floor and try to lift your bum off the ground so your ankles are crossed, because with a nice cross here, then they can stay tucked together so they can float up and then jump back behind you, which you're not going to do today, but the idea remains. Hands push into the floor. I want you to try lift your bum off the ground. It does require quite a lot of shoulders spreading apart and lifting deep from the core, and then lower the hips down, straightening out the legs. Bring the right foot in, sole of the foot to the inner thigh, open up that right knee to the side. Arms reach out in front of you, think tall spine, and then lift your tummy to the thighs. And sliding the hands towards the feet. Toes drawn up. Square shoulders, chest to shin. Lots of hamstring stretching, lots of quad strengthening today. Sliding your way back up, take the bent leg, crossing it over the extended leg, but keep your right foot bone down on the floor. Left arm wraps around the right knee, right hand to the ground behind you. You can also tuck the left elbow to the outside of the right knee and bend that arm at 90 degrees. Think about getting your belly button to the outside of your thigh. I find it does help to move the toes and sometimes the flesh to actually literally get it to the outside. And keeping that right elbow, right hand nice and close to your bum. The taller you are, the more space, the more flexibility you create in that spine. Don't let that left foot get floppy. It is active. Still an active stretch. I worked so hard, my left hip flexor is cramping just from keeping my left foot straight, left leg straight. Whew. Good session. And relax. Not that we're done yet. Right leg extends. Left foot comes in. Sole of the foot to the right inner thigh. Knees open out to the side, hands slide out towards that foot, so you can grab that foot, pull the toes towards your face. All of the toes, not just the big toes, keeping that foot totally flat against your imaginary wall. Softening the shoulders, pushing the back of the knee flat into the ground as well. No bending, nice actively straight leg like your foot is actively lifted. Releasing your forward fold, coming upright, taking the bent leg, crossing it over the extended leg. Keep your sit bone connected to the floor and your left sole of the foot connected to the outside of the mat. Wrapping the right arm around the knee. Moving whatever needs to be moved to the outside of the thigh and left hand to the ground behind you. Sit up nice and tall. Think someone's pulling out of the crown of the head. A marionette, maybe? Is that the right word? Some kind of puppet. Palm up with the elbow outside the knee if necessary, or go for it, or it just feels good. Maybe this doesn't quite do the stretch you need, so feel free to hold a firm grasp on it. Maybe those glutes are so tight that an elbow just isn't going to cut it and you need the whole forearm. That's totally fine. Releasing your forward fold, or releasing your twist, come back to center. Bring the soles of the feet flat. Knee at back, arms out. We're coming into a second float pose because core is important, you can't be neglecting it. And then start to straighten out those legs, really reinforcing those quads one last time, why not? Squeezing as straight as you can, they're working even if they're not straight. Hold for the 5, 3, 2, 1. Cross the ankles, bring the heels towards you, hands next to the hips. Pushing your hands through the floor, lifting your bum up. If you can lift your bum and your feet, even better. And if you want to level it up, you can straighten out the legs in front of you. So hands through the floor, lifting the hips, then lifting the feet, and then start to straighten out the legs. Whew. And soften the bum down. Straighten out the legs in front. Good job. A nice attempt. Very little hesitation, I love it. Arms out, tuck the tailbone. I want you to scoop into your belly and roll over the lower back to really find connection through the lower spine first as you connect one vertebra at a time down onto the mat. Reaching the arms overhead, stretching out the toes, point the toes, reach the fingers away from the toes. Find big length through the body. And then bring the knees in. Wrap the arms around the knees, curling into the lower back, rounding the shoulders off the floor, creating that tiny squished ball, rocking from side to side, releasing that lower back, starting to let go of any extra tension from all the hard work we did today. Straighten out the left leg, right knee stays in towards you. You can soften the head and shoulders down into the mat. You're going to bend the elbows to pull the knee in towards the chest. If you feel restricted or limited, you can also pull the knee out to the side. Sort of knee towards armpit. You're going to take left hand to the outside of this right thigh and cross the knee over the body. Allow the pelvis to rotate, so we're pulling out of the lower back, but keeping your right shoulder on the floor. You can stretch your right arm along the ground or take the right hand behind the head. Maybe the left hand helps the hip over a little bit deeper. Coming back up to center, right leg straightens out, left knee comes in. Interlace the fingers as you squeeze the knee tight towards you. Straightening out that right thigh along the floor, back of the thighs pushing into the ground. The more you reach through the right leg, the more you should feel a stretch across your right hip flexor. If you want to tuck the knee in towards the armpit. Play with both, see which one feels better. Maybe it's just as good but different. Same but different. And then left arm out along the ground or hand behind the head. Right hand to the outside of his left thigh, crossing the knee over the body. Allow the hips to roll and rotate over, pulling out of that lower back. If you only feel it in your glutes, see if you can soften the rotation a little bit more so you also get it through the lower spine. Out of this sort of QL, the whole pelvis is twisting open or over. Coming up to center, left foot to the ground, right foot to the ground, cross left ankle over right knee. Reach the hands through the back of the right thigh and then pull that right thigh towards you. You can push the left knee into the left elbow into the left knee, or perhaps you need a little extra force and you can use your hand as well. Maybe the left ankle doesn't want to stay on the knee, in which case use your hand to keep it deeply tucked onto the right thigh. Trying to keep your tailbone glued to the floor. So you don't want to allow the tailbone to roll on up, but the more you keep it down and then keep the legs pulling towards the body, the more you should find that stretch. Right foot down, left foot down. Right ankle crosses over left knee. Reach the hands through for the left thigh. Just getting that extra distance and then finding a variation that gets the best stretch for you. And maybe it is just holding on to that thigh. Maybe that thigh just won't stay there if you don't hold it. It really is about finding the best and most appropriate stretch. You don't need to advance if you lose the benefits along the way. Sometimes the easier variation is way more effective. And that's what's so important about making your practice personal, making it your own, and getting in touch with what your body needs, what it enjoys. Feet down to the mat. Knees are still bent. We're going to shuffle the feet to the outside edge of the mat, feet nice and wide. And then I want you to pull the feet in as close to your bum as you can get them. Then take both knees over to the left-hand side, and then left foot places on top of right knee. Pulling the right knee right down to the floor, and then squeezing the tummy tight so your lower back pulls towards the ground. Maybe it touches, maybe it doesn't, but you'll definitely feel a stretch in that right thigh either way. And if you're not feeling a stretch, you can bring your right foot even closer to your bum. Maybe you use your right hand to grab the right foot to pull it up. Maybe it's a bit intense already. Breathing into the intensity. Again, letting go of any tension that isn't actually serving your pose. Release the foot, lift the knees up, adjusting the feet again, feet close to your bum and as wide as the mat, then both knees over to the right. Right foot on top of left knee. So you're getting that center knee right down to the floor in the middle of the mat. And the left foot just coming close in towards your bum. Maybe it's easier on the one side. That's normal. Nice tight tummy, pulling the lower back down to the floor. Releasing the foot, lifting the knees up, and then we're going to straighten out the legs to opposite corners of the mat, flopping the feet out to the side. Sitting up for our Shavasana, we're going to have a little corpse pose, a rest and recovery here for a moment. With the palms facing the sky and the shoulder blades flush along the ground, so wiggle them closer so there's no pointy bits of the shoulders into the floor. And then softening any tension out of the hips so the feet totally flop out to the sides. And take a few deep breaths with the eyes closed as you continue to practice letting go of the tension. It really is a skill. Something that needs continuous practice. Being able to relax. Softening the facial features, letting go of your frown, uneating your eyebrows. Unclenching your teeth, allowing the neck to lengthen on the back of the mat. Feel the collarbones broaden as the shoulders sink a little deeper into the floor. So your chest opens up, allowing the hands to soften even more open. And as you lose the tension, you feel the ribs with more space, inhaling and exhaling. Feel that softness in the belly. Not a knot of tightness where there's no space to breathe. It's soft and fluid. Feel the weight of the body into the sacrum. As your hips sink into the floor and the front of the hips are still nice and flopped open. And the feet are falling out to the side. And the more they fall, the softer you feel on the hips. And take one more really big breath in. And as you exhale, I want you to feel yourself sinking, melting deep through the floor. Not just into the floor, but through the ground below you. Then you're going to gently brush the fingertips along the thumb and the thumb along the fingertips. Slowly bring that sensation. Maybe the body feels a little different. Maybe sensations feel a little different. We're going to reach the arms up overhead. Lengthening down the whole body now that we've let go of all that tension. Maybe it stretches a little bigger. And then point those toes away from the hands. Taking a big breath in as the body stretches out and feel the space each inhale creates. The importance of your breath in stretching. Then bring your knees tight in towards your chest. Wrap the arms around the knees. Nice tight squeeze. Gently rocking from side to side. Just because it feels good. And then lowering the body over onto the left hand side, using your left arm as a pillow, right arm gently drapes over the body, over the thighs, allowing your heart rate and blood pressure to slowly come back to normal. So a few deep breaths here to encourage that recovery. And then keeping the eyes closed, we're going to press ourselves all the way up to seated, finding our way to the center of the mat, using all your proprioception that we've just been training. Crossing the ankles if appropriate. If the knees don't bend that way, you can have your legs straight. Maybe you feel more flexible now. Hands are soft on the knees. Spine is tall above the hips, above the pelvis. And tuck the chin in towards the chest. Find that gentle stretch down the back of the neck. Taking a moment to appreciate your efforts and energy this morning. Congratulate yourself for getting out of bed despite the rainy weather. And take a moment to acknowledge every time that you listened to your body. Every time you pushed and challenged yourself, despite the self-doubt. Softly flutter the eyes open, gaze towards the floor, and raise the chin up. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Your energy today was amazing. Loved it.